It's a tough job, as you said, but I do this a lot because I teach in 12 universities in all over the country, and people ask me, why do you do that? How do you do that? Well, because I actually don't do a lot of things. My students do everything, and at the end, I just synthesize what I hear from them. So my students would know that they do moot courts, they do negotiations, they do activities, and at the end, I talk for 10 minutes to summarize everything for them. So I'll limit this to 10 minutes because I think we need to finish as well, and people are also tired, and we have to have our energy. So please bear with me. I have 3 points to make for this synthesis. First, just to thank everyone, to make sure we're able to thank everyone. I have to say I was very thrilled listening to Richard Falk earlier. Those of you, especially law students here, that's a superstar in public international law, one of the most progressive, one of the most brilliant lawyers, and also quite knowledgeable about the Philippines, as he mentioned, way back to the 70s and the 80s when he organized with Walden the Permanent People's Tribunal, which was something very influential also in my thinking on what was happening in the Philippines during martial law. But of course, Richard is just one of the many international colleagues that have given messages, help us understand what we're facing, gave solitary messages to Senator Laila De Lima. We have with us today, spending time with us, flying from different places. Ms. Musuchwa of Cambodia, Marina Meshure of France, and we also had Jayanti Devubalagaru of India, who's a women lawyer and leader of women's lawyers who came and shared their thoughts with us. We also heard from our Hong Kong colleagues, Joshua Wong and Emily Lau. We heard from eminent professors, 2 special rapporteurs, David Kay and the last Agnes Calamard over here, and I think another one from Hong Kong that we also heard earlier. So thank you very much to all our international colleagues for being with us and for also making us understand that this is not just us. It's not just us that's facing this problem of lawfare, but it's a shared problem, and therefore the solutions can actually also be shared. Of course, I'd like to thank everyone who spoke, who facilitated, who gave their time here. We had senators here, we had representatives, both former and current representatives, quite a number of them. I won't mention and list the names, so I might forget some of them. Sectoral leaders, youth, the poor, LGBT, Muslims. We have quite a number of sectoral leaders as well that came here. Those who are actually suffering from lawfare directly, we heard from Maria Ressa, we heard from Senator Sani Trillanes, who are both facing lots of cases. We had Father Albert, Father Flavi, who are facing charges also. Those who cannot be here because of lawfare, Senator De Lima, of course, has been a very big presence from the beginning in planning this conference, in giving her keynote address, in people addressing her situation, given that this is also the 3rd year anniversary of her unjust detention. I would say there are those also, especially young people who are not here because they're subjected to lawfare, those who are detained or arrested because of charges like illegal possession of firearms, which we know has no basis. Now, those of us who have been lawyering for them, I lawyer for one of them, Miles Albasin, in Negros. The UP5, the Taclob, the Leyte 5 is the latest of those groups of people that have been subjected to lawfare through unjust persecution, through planting of evidence. Of course, those who really cannot be here because they're no longer with us, because they've been victims of physical violence itself. We have the family, of course, of the victims of the extrajudicial killings, and we're very grateful that you spent time with us to share your experience. I know that the wife of Ben Ramos, one of our colleagues, human rights colleagues who was assassinated in Negros, Ayesha, is also here. I think it's important also to remember those who cannot be here and cannot be here because of what has been done to them. The youth, I'd like to give special attention. I'm very happy that you have so many young people, not just law students, but also undergrad students. Some from far away. Trisha and Mel of Ateneo de Naga, where are you? I met them earlier. And others from Ateneo de Naga, sent by their dean. Thank you very much for coming all the way from there. My PUP students who came in full force, my students from UP, DLSU, and others as well have been here. This is really also for you because this battle is what I call an intergenerational battle. As Dean Chell pointed out, lawfare is not a new thing. It's just escalated, and it has gotten into different forms. So, of course, the Secretariat, the staff, especially of Senator De Lima, and all those that have volunteered, I think we owe them a strong word of gratitude for the work that has been done in getting this successful conference. My second point is actually the substance, but because I have a very long matrix for the substance, and will take me quite a while to proceed to explain that, instead of doing the substance in detail, what I would propose is the process by which we finalize the output of this conference. We would like to come up with a conference statement, conference declaration. The structure of our process, it was not possible to come up with a draft now, given that there was such a rich discussion from the plenaries to the smaller discussions, the breakout groups that we have. So our suggestion is to, if you could mandate the Secretariat, following the structure of the conference, what is lawfare, understanding what it is. We have very many insights from our speakers, from CJ Sereno to Dean Agabin and others that spoke in those first sessions, to the experience of living lawfare and fighting lawfare. I really thought, for example, that Dean Chal Jokno's reflections on what we did during martial law is something that's very instructive of what we can do today. And then all the way down, I made it a point to go around the different group discussions. We've been able to capture all of that in this matrix, including action points. And my sense, as I went around and listening to the discussions in the smaller groups, this is not. We are not defeated. Now we know that we can actually win this, that this is not going to be forever. But, changing it requires action. It also won't change by just us waiting for it to change. So I could see that in all of the discussions, very concrete suggestions were given, and we were able to capture that, and we'll try to put that into writing, and then send it particularly to the groups and the representatives of all the groups that were present here for approval or for feedback before we finalize it. Obviously, we would not put anyone or any group as signatories unless they actually agreed to do that. That's important as well in terms of the process. The third point and final point I would like to say is, of course, the call for action. That is really what this is all about. I mean, of course, this is an academic conference because we wanted to understand this phenomenon of lawfare in its current expression. But the purpose of understanding was to learn how to fight it, combat it in all its multiple ways of expression, in the multiple fronts that it expresses itself. I actually wrote my column for tomorrow in Manila Standard while the conference was going on, and following the use of the virus language. No, I mean, just said combating the virus that could be a pandemic or maybe even a pandemic already called Lawfare. They're very different virus, but can be even more challenging. It actually kills people, as we know, as it had killed victims of extrajudicial killings and political activists. So the point of understanding is to be able to fight it smartly and effectively in multiple fronts. Above all, in all the discussions I've heard today, the one takeaway that I have is that the guarantee to win this fight is to create a broad coalition of all of us. That's really what's necessary. Because all of us are going to be, and we see that both sectors, whether it's sectors or ideologies or whatever differences that we have, we can all be targeted by lawfare. And so as you know, as diverse as our views are, it's important to create a broad coalition with principles, based on principles and based on a common understanding. So hopefully this conference will create this understanding, this common understanding of what we are faced with, and we'll try to capture that in the conference document. But the coalition like that can only be effective also if we know what we will seek to do in that coalition. And here I will get from borrow from John his 3 points, particularly the creation of narratives, disruptive action, and also eventually some kind of a cooperation, collaboration for electoral objectives. The narrative change is not only sort of changing the understanding and helping the people understanding what's happening, but also to propose alternatives to the narratives that the people, the groups that are benefiting from this lawfare is proposing. We have to have alternatives to that. I think, and Walden was able also to point that out, very important to build their own digital communities. People that have been listening to me on this point have been saying that the strength of the other side is they actually have very strong digital communities, small digital communities that's constantly fed. And we have to have alternatives to those communities, and also that needs to be constantly fed the narratives that we want to feed to them, and we should be able to do that. But I would say that over the medium term, because we do have an election coming in 2022, at some point we would have to think about how to create a broad electoral coalition to make sure that our vision of society, where lawfare is a good thing, because lawfare, the positive thing of lawfare is we can weaponize the law for social justice. We can weaponize the law for access to justice. We can weaponize the law for national sovereignty. That is the vision that we have. So with that, I thank you all, and thank you very much also for your presence here.